It
Second you
is the
beat.
day. World Series game 1 today. No Phillies in the World Series. We've got Yankees, Dodgers, and we've got a Friday show of being able to preview a World Series matchup. Welcome to the PHLY Phillies podcast presented by Ace Hardware Home Services, where you can get started on your next project at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com. We've got JP, Jamie, myself, Renee, as we have this Friday of fun day. Friday fun day, guys. We're going to get into Andrew Painter's fall league numbers. We'll talk Kyle Schwarber because he's crossing over into college
Does
football.
that mean I should open a Miller Lite already, Renee?
Maybe
It's
it's
fun
never
day
too early
Friday.
to
Should I
crack
crack
open a
one?
Miller Lite. Plus, we've
Say
got to
less.
talk Juan Soto. Not only him previewing him and the Yankees in the World Series versus Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, but also talking through if the Phillies can possibly acquire him. So Jim Salisbury will be joining us at 11:30. We haven't had a chance to chat with him on the show since the season ended, but he'll join us live 11:30 to talk Juan Soto and potential moves. And guys, I see you're already buzzing in the chat because you saw the thumb. You saw Juan Soto. We all get a little bit excited when Juan Soto's name gets brought up, but we're not going to talk about him just yet. To be continued. Stay tuned.
Maybe we'll come up with a list of like 100. Since we have time, maybe we do like the 100 reasons why Juan Soto should choose Philly. And we just like, we'll snail mail it to him after he becomes a World Series champion.
I remember doing the same thing for Yamamoto, and that did not play out well. But
you got to shoot or shoot, Renee. We got to keep shooting.
Shot. Yeah. You miss 100% of shots you don't take. We're going to shoot, fire away. Somebody that was firing away though yesterday out in the Arizona Fall League was our guy Andrew Painter. Love to see Andrew Painter have a tremendous performance for the first time since September 9th, 2022 in AA Reading. Andrew Painter had a scoreless showing in a 9-6 win, 3 scoreless innings. We have the shots for you that JP can zoom in on and show you of Andrew Painter. Just our moment of zen for today is watching Andrew Painter back on the mound. We don't even need the sound. We're just going to give you the visual. For those of you that are watching live on YouTube and Roku, if you're on podcast platforms, go back to our show, check it out, because Andrew Painter had an incredible showing in his 32 pitches, 26 strikes, new look Andrew Painter, and he's spoken on why he's looking different. But I'm just going to be quiet here. Let's just digest this moment of Andrew Painter. I'll let you play it again.
Yeah, that was courtesy of MLIB Pipeline. It's beautiful. So yeah, Renee, you said it. 3 innings pitched, 32 pitches. He threw 19 four-seamers with an average velocity of 97.1. He threw 7 cutters on the day at about 88 miles an hour. And his curveball, he threw 6 of those at an average of 81 miles per hour. So to be able to hit like 98, 99, and then drop an 81 mile an hour curveball on people, that's a lot to pick up. And his, Thomas Nacito, who does the some of the advanced analytic breakdown of these pitchers, gives you all the numbers of access break and extension point. And Tyler talked about it last time we talked about Painter, guys. You forget how large he is, 6'6", and he comes down on you quick and fast. And, in our Discord last night, and I guess now's a great time to mention that there's a discount introductory rate right now for us going on. But in our Discord last night, we have a farm system channel. And of course, everybody was hot and bothered about Andrew Painter's, second start here. And it got to talking about next year already, because this kid clearly doesn't really belong in the minor leagues. It's clear he almost made the major league team last year as a 20-year-old. And now coming off of Tommy John, the discussion became, all right, well, what's the best route for him? And I think Matt Gelb has mentioned in The Athletic that what might be possible after the Arizona Fall League here is they kind of start him late in spring training. So like as the regular season starts, like Andrew Painter's kind of spring training would start. So that way you don't really waste him in the minor leagues, and he can come up after getting his regular work and basically minimize his innings in the minor league. Like, he's so good, Renee and JP, that I don't want to waste any innings in the minors, because I don't even need to see him in the minors. I just know he's going to go down there and dominate. So I'm all about getting every inning you can for the big league club. So it becomes how do you kind of feather that workload and do what's best for the kid and the team at the same time.
Yeah, listen, when you have Andrew Painter, as you mentioned, still so young and so tall and so much talent at 22 years old that people don't even realize. And for Andrew Painter, not only did he have those 32 pitches that you talk about where he gave up just one hit, of course, a scoreless showing, 0 walks, 3 Ks, but also displayed a relatively new pitch to his arsenal that he spoke about. And it has been one that's caught people by surprise. It's a sharp upper 80s pitch that he's throwing, and it's like a rising fastball that he has. He calls it just a traditional slider. He's saying it's the same pitch, same grip, just a different thought process in how he's throwing it. And he has one that's a little bit slower, which is for a strike most of the time. He was saying, he was like, when I get to 2 strikes, it's the same grip, but I'm just thinking to go glove side away to a righty and in on a lefty. So thinking more heater with it, same grip, but a minor tweak to his pitch that he's been showcasing. So already you're seeing him in his return. They're saying new look Andrew Painter because at his young age, he's also changing how he's pitching. He's showing that dominance, as you mentioned, Jamie, that he should not be someone you see in the minor leagues, but for the major league club, they're going to try to really be meticulous about his work back and how they're increasing his pitch count. So for him with the Desert Dogs to have an uptick in his average velocity, for him to have 6 curveballs that were in the 80 to 82 mile per hour range. And then so it's giving him some variation in even his pitches. He can have his changeup, which he didn't even need his changeup much with the 8 righty hitters that he faced. So for Andrew Painter, love to see not only the speed, the velocity of what he's pitching, but also to be able to see how he's tweaking some of his pitches depending on, the situation, depending on where he's at in the game. He's looking good, guys. It's encouraging.
Yeah, it is good. It's good to see some young arms. And this year, obviously, the 5th starter was the whole debacle the whole entire year, right? Like whether it was Taijuan Walker, Spencer Turnbull, Tyler Phillips, like we never had a concrete 5th guy. It'd be pretty cool to have Andrew Painter as a 5th guy. And Dombrowski even said himself too, like they're going to slowly bring him along. And like the blueprint is obviously Andrew Skeens, as he finished with, I think, 133 innings that he pitched this year. And so like slowly next year, you're going to bring him along. But I mean, we just saw the clips. We saw the advanced stats there too. Like the dude is legit. It's just obviously when you're talking about young players, it's about bringing them along. But it'd be really cool to have a guy who can solidify that 5th role eventually down the line.
Yeah, some of the conversation was like, all right, what's the inning cap going to be? As you mentioned there, JP, Skeens won 133, and there was even talk in September about the Pirates shutting him down. I'm shocked they let him pitch as long as they did, to be honest. But they were kind of in the race, so I got it. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a Tommy John specialist. I don't know if you guys know that about me, but I would guess like 100, 110 because he's coming off the surgery is probably a fair guess. And it's tough because you want the kid to build up the strength to be right. But you don't want to waste innings in the minor leagues because like, what does he have to prove down there? I think we all know this kid, how special this kid is. So it becomes, all right, do we put him down there for a couple minor league starts where he's capped at like 3 innings just to get some experience and then bring him up immediately? Do you bring him up immediately and start him after the All-Star game and kind of ride his innings until the playoffs? And then when the playoffs come, can he possibly be that 4th starter? And then Ranger can become a multi-inning bullpen guy. Like he gives you a lot of options. And then as one of you guys mentioned, there's probably the possibility of, bringing in another Spencer Turnbull type that can supplement Taijuan Walker, because I don't expect much from him. So it's going to be an interesting 5th pitcher debate next year, and I'm very curious to see how the Phillies handle it.
Yeah, and I'm excited about it because you are getting Andrew Painter back is huge. Obviously, we saw in 2022 in his 22 appearances that he had 0 ERA for 11 of those and finished with a 1.56 ERA across all levels of 2022 before his injury. And to see him getting back to that, again, 6'7", a right-hander and 22 years old. And much like you talk about a Paul Skeens, Andrew Painter also had the high expectations as a young talent coming into Major League Baseball. So I know, Lisa, you're mentioning in the chat, selfishly, you'd love to see him have some time in Reading just to catch a game or two.
That'd be
that
cool.
would be great and make it a lot easier for people to have a chance to be able to see him. But we also want to see him healthy and see him with the Phillies, knowing that there is a battle for that fifth starter. You can't rely on Taijuan Walker. Spencer Turnbull, I don't anticipate, to be honest, is going to return, especially with the injuries. They might be looking to bring in a new Spencer Turnbull type piece or trying to figure out a way to keep him healthy, which I don't know if that's possible given his history, unfortunately, of season after season after season of injuries. So I'd prefer that you try to bring in somebody that has a better health history and that you can rely on a little bit more. But either way, it does make it exciting because Andrew Painter is showing us with the Desert Dogs in the Arizona Fall League that he is looking like he's getting closer and closer.
We're all Desert Dogged up. Desert Dog. I love the Desert Dog.
Desert Dogs run faster.
Yeah.
Or pitch harder in this case.
Yeah, but it's hard not to get irrationally excited about this kid. It's going to be a lot of fun.
But like, think about it too. Like,
cool it is.
When was the last time we had a high pick,
a pitching prospect like this?
You know who it was?
It's got to be Cole, right? There's nobody.
Well, that turned out to be a legitimate starter. I mean, like, it's literally Aaron Nola. Like, that's like the last one.
Oh yeah,
that became like a
he
stud.
wasn't this exciting.
And this,
but he was a college kid, and this is a high school kid. So there's almost like more hope and optimism when they're. Yeah, but it's homegrown guys. It's Hamels and Nola of the last 25 years, and now Andrew Painter is probably has a chance. Just stuff wise and ranking wise, he's got a chance to be the best of the three of them. And I know what that sounds like because he's unproven. He hasn't gotten there yet. But like as a prospect, I'll have to go back and dig up when Cole Hamels came up where he was.
Yeah.
But Andrew Painter is, if not one or two in terms of pitching prospects in all the minors. So, Cole and Nola never got that high. So this is going to be fun.
It is. Real quick, because Steven's trying to. He's trying to grab my attention here. So talking about pitching, get rid of Walker, snag Quintana away from the Mets. How do you guys feel about that?
After the way he made the Phillies look, sure. I mean, he'll probably go. I wonder
what Sean Manaea too, man.
Yeah. I wonder what he might get some money a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say
he's projected. It looks like for a 2-year contract, probably about $28 million. So you're looking at like 13, 14 a year. That's a little probably out of the Phillies. After they sign Juan Soto, you're not gonna have all that money to spend on pitching. But yeah, he's
manifesting that.
Well, got to think positive until the balloon bursts, right?
Yeah,
$20 million. Holy crap.
But yeah, Jose Quintana is probably a little rich.
That would be great, actually. I know you guys are talking in the chat about obviously Juan Soto, but even Damus, Steven, Frank, you're talking about the possibilities. There are options here. The problem with Taijuan Walker is you're going to have to let Taijuan walk, or you're just going to eat the money because you're not going to be able to, no one's going to want to pick up Taijuan Walker. Maybe someone does. I won't say no one, but I find it highly unlikely that given his contract and how much money the Phillies spent, that a team is going to want to take that gamble on him, given also his track record of recent. So
he finished the 80 ERA.
Yeah, not good. Not good. For the Phillies, if they wanted to pick up another fifth starter, I think it'd be somebody like Spencer Turnbull last year that they were able to acquire for a $2 million deal that you picked up Spencer Turnbull for? It was very low, very budget friendly, and efficient. So, yeah, we will see what happens in terms of the fifth starter. Right now, Andrew Painter's giving us hope. Of course, we don't know if he'd be ready come opening day. The expectation is they'd be easing him back, so might not be ready in the first weeks of the season, but potentially, who knows, by the All-Star game, we might be seeing some Andrew Painter pitching with the Phillies. Fingers crossed. But let's take care of some business because we do have some excitement going on elsewhere in the college football scene. But first, let's tell you about some of our friends. Now, for all of you guys tuned in live on Twitter, on Facebook, or Twitter, Instagram, social media, Twitter, YouTube, Roku, good Lord, podcast platforms, wherever you're watching or listening, let me tell you about our friends over at the Game Time app, because with the Game Time app, they have a lot of features that I personally enjoy as someone that likes to look for tickets in areas around me, whether I'm trying to find them here in Philly or I'm traveling for an event. With the Game Time app, they make it easy to find those upcoming tickets for any event. It could be a concert, a comedy show, a musical, theater, or of course a game. Anything you're looking to attend around sports and entertainment, you have the ability with the Game Time app to get the latest alerts around ticket prices as they drop in your area. They also have the Game Time Picks, which is a feature that provides you with tickets that are great value, great deals, great price. So that way you don't get overwhelmed looking at all of the different prices and tickets that are available. So with the Game Time Picks, you can actually customize your spots. You can look for exactly which area you're trying to find tickets, and they'll narrow down your search for you. So with their features such as the Game Time Picks, they also have super deals as well as their seat views. So that way you can have a view of where you're going to be located before you buy that ticket. You know exactly where your seat is going to be. And with the Game Time app, they want to make sure you're getting the lowest price guarantee in addition to some protections, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and other opportunities there. So with great deals, including their super deals that they have, I should say, the Game Time Picks, which curates and makes it easier to save more on going to those games, concerts, comedy shows, theater, plus the all-in pricing, which allows you to see the total of all your tickets up front. No surprise fees at checkout. There's nothing worse than buying tickets and then you get to check out and the price just increases because they didn't include all those additional fees. With their all-in pricing, you see the total price you will pay down to the penny once you are shopping to know exactly what you're going to have to pay come checkout time. So with all these benefits of seat views, lowest price guarantee, Game Time ticket coverage, the Game Time Picks, they're all in pricing. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Use code PHLY when you create an account to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create your account. Use code PHLY for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today because what time is it, guys? Game time. Game time.
And let me take a minute to tell you about our friends at Rite Aid, your neighborhood friendly pharmacy. Not only that, they got tons of sweets and snacks, and whether it's summertime or wintertime, all the seasonal stuff you may need. And right now it's allergy season, and fall allergies can go into November still. Main culprits, and you can stop in and talk to your friendly neighborhood pharmacist about this at Rite Aid. Ragweed, mold, plants like sagebrush, tumbleweed, and pigweed. I've always hated pigweed. Dust mites, pet dander, and fur. And allergic reactions occur when your body misidentifies a substance such as pollen as harmful to the body, and your immune system releases those histamines to fight off the allergens. So what you can do during allergy season, you can stop into Rite Aid and talk to your pharmacist. They can give you tips like using a dehumidifier, showering frequently, checking pollen counts, keeping your windows and doors closed and running in the air conditioning, and maybe wearing a protective mask while gardening. All this stuff is available and more. They can help you with over-the-counter help like nasal rinses, antihistamines, tons of stuff, and they can help you find your local pollen count so you can check all that out. And if it's still not enough relief, talk to them about allergy medications like decongestions might be necessary. So stop into your Rite Aid today and ask your pharmacist about recommendations or ways to get relief during allergy season.
All right. Well, before we have our buddy Jim Salisbury on to join us and talk about Juan Soto, let's talk about another guy that's doing something fun and exciting. This is a cool moment for the Phillies as we
By the way,
tweeted
Jim,
out.
I have a feeling I have a Jim prediction here.
Oh?
He is very much going to pop the balloon on anyone. So
1,000%. He lives in reality. Jim is not going to be the person to come on and like give us hopes and dreams. He's gonna completely crush all of those hopes and dreams for everybody. But we'll see what he says. You never know. Jim might surprise us. Doubtful. But I will say Kyle Schwarber is going to be joining ESPN's College Game Day as a guest picker. We saw the news on Twitter because as an alum of Indiana University, the number 13 Hoosiers are taking on Washington. That's a big time game this weekend, I should say, happening out in Bloomington, Indiana. And so they're going to have him on along with all the fun and the excitement as a guest picker to help predict his winner. I mean, I'm pretty sure who he's going to predict is Indiana, but at least it's cool that he's on this like out of season tour. We could be talking about the Phillies in the World Series, but instead we're talking about Kyle Schwarber as a guest picker.
Yeah, I watch College Game Day every weekend, so I'm excited.
Do you really?
Yeah, I love College Game Day. It's the best. Last weekend was Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia at Oregon because she graduated from Oregon. So Kyle Schwarber, I had to look it up. He is Indiana Hoosiers baseball's all-time leader in. Can anybody guess the category?
I know this. Actually, I remember seeing this. Not home runs.
All-time leader
though.
in.
It's not home runs.
It's not home runs. It's
I'm gonna go steals.
No,
it feels like something obscure that you wouldn't guess.
It's like doubles. I remember seeing this because
caught stealing.
I was close.
You were close, JB. He's all-time leader in Indiana history in caught stealing. Let me see. Home runs, he comes in at 9th. He had 18 during college. It's funny when you look at this list, he's clearly like the best baseball player on the list. And it's funny how, progressions in one's physicality and home run abilities is not always linear, right? So like he's 9th all time with 19 in college, and now he's hitting 40. And granted, much more games, but 45 a year. It's funny to see how that jump happens.
Well,
can you name the other Philly? Can you name the other famous Philly that went to Indiana? Indiana Hoosier. Yes, it was our friend Matt Albertson tweeted us, friend of the program.
I don't remember.
This is so
one of my all-time Harry Callis names. Mickey Morandini.
Mickey Morandini.
Yes.
Mickey Morandini was also an Indiana Hoosier.
Yo, look at this face. Oh, I can't make it bigger. Oh my god, but dude.
Baby
Kyle. Yeah.
He was a beefy boy.
And I don't know if he caught at Indiana. I didn't look at that, but I know he came up as a catcher and then eventually switched. So I wonder if he played catcher at Indiana. But yeah, him and Mickey Morandini are the Indiana legends.
Wow. Both played for the Phillies. That's interesting.
I love that.
And Mickey, I think he is their second all-time stolen base leader with 41 in 1987.
Look at that.
I guess he graduated in 87. Or no, excuse me. 1987, he had 41. And in 1988, he had 35 and 33 in 86. So the Mick was a stolen base machine for the Hoosiers.
And yes, Mickey Durkin. That's a great name, that Mickey name, man. A historic, legendary name, that is.
Mickey Morandini.
I do love, to your point, Jamie, when you
I was hoping that he was on the ball, but it's Mariano Duncan. Sorry. And then
there you go.
Kurt Schilling. It would have been cooler if it was Mickey.
That would have been cooler, for sure.
Yeah.
I love when you see the correlation of like Kyle Schwarber leading the so number 1 in program history for times caught stealing. Speedy Kyle?
Yeah.
What? Never would guess
#1.
that. But it is funny because some things stay the same and some things drastically change. That he still is not that fast, although he's gotten faster. He has gotten quicker. This past season, we saw a speedier, slender Schwarber.
Didn't he pop a hamstring trying to run down a pop-up this year?
A groin.
Yeah, well, maybe. All right, let's see. Runs scored. Kyle Schwarber is 7th and 8th all-time. Slugging percentage, Kyle Schwarber is 7th all-time in Hoosier history. Wow. Hits, Kyle Schwarber is 10th all-time in Hoosier history. On-base percentage, Kyle Schwarber 8th all-time. And that looks like it for the record book. So Kyle Schwarber, Mr. Indiana.
Wow.
I can't wait to see him. It's going to be great.
Aren't they going up against Nebraska?
Yeah, so Indiana football is undefeated, but they haven't really played anybody of note yet. And apparently they have a really good, rich tailgate tradition there, but nobody goes into the games because they're terrible and have been for a long time. So Indiana football has always kind of had this like low-key following. It's just nobody goes into the games. They just party every Saturday and ditch the games. And now they're undefeated. So what they did was they pounced on the transfer portal. Indiana got like a ton of like backup kids from decent programs that weren't getting chances. I think they have a ton of kids from like JMU. They might have even gotten like a Villanova kid. They've gotten like a bunch of like players from different schools to come into the Big Ten and get that opportunity to start. And they're like,
did Penix play there? Michael Penix Jr.? Before he transferred to Washington.
Yeah, where was he?
Actually, I feel like he did. That does sound familiar.
He did transfer, but I thought it was somewhere down south. Let's see. College. Indiana. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Indiana from 18 to 21 and Washington 22, 23. So Indiana's kind of thriving this year. So this is a huge game for them on Saturday to see if they can put some. This is probably the biggest win they can put on their resume so far.
The baseball powerhouse, that's Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana's always been a football school.
Would be huge going up against Washington.
But it'll be cool to see him on the stage.
But it will be fun to see Kyle Schwarber. It would be more exciting to have seen him on the map, batting, DHing this weekend. But instead, we'll settle for seeing him on ESPN as a guest pitcher, I guess. But I know as you talk about, Indiana is a team that's done a good job pouncing on the transfer portal. Maybe the Phillies can embrace some of that juju, because I know, Pedro, you're mentioning in the chat, as a Yankees fan, you don't want us to go after Juan Soto. Well, hopefully they can take a page out of Indiana's book and do a good job this offseason acquiring some big names. So we have Jim Salisbury joining us soon, not yet, to talk about Juan Soto. I know in the chat you guys continue talking about Juan Soto. I see some Corbin Burns talk has been brought up with Baltimore. It is the offseason. It is time to get all the irrational thoughts of who's going to be making moves this offseason. But first, let's take care of some more business before we start excitingly talking about Juan Soto and where he could potentially end up. Will he end up with the Phillies? Will he not? I don't know. But what I do know is, if you're ever looking for any help or support around, let's say, electrical, plumbing, heating, cooling, anything else you have going on around your home that you need fixing, if you've got a project, with our friends over at Ace Hardware Home Services, they're the place with the helpful hardware folks. They bring you decades of experience across their staff that they can provide you with. And they've got local plumbers and tech that can handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. And at Ace Hardware Home Services, they want to make sure that whenever you give them a call, whenever you walk in their doors, whenever you check them out online, you're going to get support. You're going to get great customer service. And they want to make sure that they're bringing you help so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter versus dealing with repairs and emergency issues. They do provide you with free estimates on equipment installation and replacements with those trusted advisors and options that they have to provide you an opportunity to see what's best for your home as well as your budget. They also have emergency services available. So when you need them most, you can rely on Ace Hardware Home Services. And with service you can trust and satisfaction guaranteed, they want to make sure they're making it right, no matter what, through the entire project, helping you out. So again, if you need help on that wide range of any residential maintenance, installation, home repair services, including plumbing, cooling, heating, electrical, you can go to Ace Hardware Home Services to get started. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. I know I pass an Ace Hardware Home Services billboard all the time in the city, and I'm like, hey, there's the helpful hardware folks. Well, they can be helpful for your home project to keep you and your neighbors supported and making sure that any issues you have around the house are taken care of. So again, reach out to our friends at Ace Hardware Home Services at acehardwarehomeservices.com, who fortunately are sponsoring us this entire Red October and helping you stay comfortable at home.
And it's the weekend. It's the weekend. And what does that mean for you? Well, hopefully some boners, because we've got Blue Chew. Our friends at Blue Chew want to make the experience of your weekends the best they can be. So what is Blue Chew? They say first impressions are important. Well, what about those lasting impressions? That's where Blue Chew is going to come in. Blue Chew helps give men longer lasting and stronger erections so you can perform at your very best. So Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. Process is simple. Just go to bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made right here in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. And that's the best part. It's all done online. It means no visit to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead and be ready when an opportunity arises. With Blue Chew, men everywhere, they're pumped to see that postman come to the door, because that means your package has arrived and your package is going to benefit from it. We're talking boners. All right, so we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ALLCITY at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast.
Wow.
How'd I do?
That was wild. Quite an open line. What a way to zing right in there with the open liner, and you just didn't hold back. Listen, it might be awkward to have to get Blue Chew picked up. So I can't imagine what that's like for you gentlemen, but I also can't imagine what it's like for our poor buddy Jim Salisbury to have to join the show now on PHLY Phillies presented by Ace Hardware Home Services after Jamie is talking about Blue Chew. This is one of our sponsors. Jim, help. Hello. We haven't seen you since the Phillies were eliminated from the postseason. This is what you come back to.
I'm leaving.
They encourage fun with the read, Jim. They're good people over at Blue Chew.
I thought we were talking about Dodger Blue.
Oh, no.
We will be. I promise. As I finished the read, I was like, oh, boy, I hope Jim wasn't on to hear that.
You have a future writing for Playboy Forum.
I always got Playboy for the articles, Jim, of course.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm very uncomfortable with that ad, but what are you going to do?
How do you think I feel, Jim?
Yeah. Why don't you punch him? You're not in the same room, but you could punch him.
I know. Fortunately, we're remote today. Otherwise, I'd be in the studio embarrassedly trying to not respond to this. This is where we are, though. This is
All right,
where
let's
we
talk
are
baseball.
as a team. This is where we are as a city. The Phillies, unfortunately, Jim, again, last time we spoke to you, we were talking about the playoffs. We were talking about the Phillies still in the run. Not anymore. But hopefully, Jim, they are in the run for maybe Juan Soto. We were hoping you could come in and give us some optimism. Listen, we've got Blue Chew and Juan Soto. That's all we had to go on today. Now, of course, everybody is hopeful that the Phillies can find a way to acquire Juan Soto. We know the number 14 years, $536 million. I actually heard is, $600 million is probably more realistic for what Juan Soto is going to be looking for. How would the Phillies possibly make this happen? What needs to happen? What can they do? Is this possible? Give us some hope.
Wow.
Well, you can say it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I can cut right to the chase and just say I don't see Juan Soto in red Phillies pinstripes. I think we can totally dismiss the notion that the Phillies are cheap, anything like that. The Phillies are unwilling to spend. I mean, they had, I think, the fourth biggest payroll in baseball this year, well into the 200 millions. They have two $300 million players. They're going to pay Zach Wheeler $43 million next year, 43, and 43 over the next 3 years. I mean, they're willing to spend. But, for a lot of reasons, I just don't feel Soto happening for, kind of where they are on their payroll curve. And, I just think it's going to be a New York bidding war for Soto between the Yankees and the Mets. He kind of inched his way toward becoming a Yankee legend with that game-winning home run in the ALCS. There's going to be enormous pressure on the Yankees to retain him. And then, 8 miles away at Citi Field, Steve Cohen is going to hold a trump card because I think he's actually got more money than the Yankees. So I think the Phillies, I had a conversation with John Middleton, 5-6 years ago at this time of year. And he said, if there's a free agent out there that's going to make us better and help us take a step toward winning a World Series, you bet we're going to be involved with them. You bet we're going to pursue them. And I think they're going to probably pursue him and make a pitch to him. But I don't know that they can do a $500 million deal. I just don't. And unless he has this enthusiastic desire to be in Philadelphia, I think the Yankees and the Mets are going to throw it all down to try to get him. And he's succeeded this year in New York. I see him staying there. I just don't see it happening for a lot of reasons. Like I said, I think they'll give it the old college try, but I'm not feeling it. I hope I think Jamie probably feels the same way as I do. I'm not trying to throw
no, I think Jim, what you said is right. I mean, Steve Cohen is the richest owner in sports, and if he does wiggle away from the Yankees, I don't see $30 to $50 million stopping Steve Cohen from getting his guy. He's kind of been reducing payroll a little bit over the last year and a half to kind of prepare for this moment. So, yeah, I think I hope he's not in the NL East. I'd rather him stay in the American League. But to your point, I don't think the Mets are going to let him get out of New York.
Yeah, and the Yankees are going to be under enormous pressure if they win the World Series, man.
So we were debating that yesterday, Jim. More or less likely that he leaves the Yankees if they win? Because he'll have 2 World Series by age 26. I don't want to say that's not motivation anymore.
I'd say less. Because they win the World Series. I think it's going to be a lot of pressure. There's always pressure to win the World Series with the Yankees, winning multiples and back-to-backs. And I think there'll be a lot of pressure because he'll have succeeded in that uniform. The fans are going to want him. I would think winning the World Series is I know it's really good for your revenues. It's really good for your brand. So I would think if he wins, he'd be more likely to stay. But Steve Cohen can do some things that even the Yankees probably can't do. And Soto's agent, Scott Boras, is a master at kind of, as long as he's got an offer, and then if he gets 2, he has a way of competing them against each other and doing even better for his clients. So, like I said, I think you will read the Phillies connected to him at certain points this offseason. I just don't know that they can get that to the finish line because I just don't know that there's going to be a lot of desire for him to come here. I mean, I know Kevin Long was his hitting coach in Washington. They are very close. That could be a potential selling point. But the Phillies, have they already had 13-year and 11-year deal for Harper and Kerner, and this is going to take 11, 12, or 13. I just don't know that they have an appetite for that. But again, you just never know. You never know. But I go back to that press conference David Dombrowski had last week. He kind of threw not cold water, but certainly lukewarmish water on the idea of adding another star, and it just doesn't feel like it can happen here, but we'll watch it anyway.
Yeah, and so I'm curious, Jim. I know you mentioned if the Yankees win the World Series, you feel like that might be enough to keep Juan Soto, in addition to what they can financially pay. Realistically, who do you think he would go to? I know we do have some Yankees fans in the chat saying, haha, Phillies, we told you he probably isn't going to Philly. But do you realistically, if the Yankees, regardless what happens with the World Series, especially if they lose in the World Series, do you think the Mets really are the front runner with being able to lock in Juan Soto? What's your prediction? Very early on prediction.
Yeah, my early on prediction is whoever is willing to sign the biggest check is going to get him. And they're both very capable of signing a huge check if it's 4 or 5 $500 million or more. They both can find a way to do that. So I just don't know where he's going. And, the Giants, I'm sure, will lurk on the periphery. They have new folks running the show out there. They have a history of having star players, and they've kind of treaded water for a while. And, when they have stars and they're winning ball games, that place is packed and they're generating a lot of revenue. I would assume they're going to be around the edges as well. But you could probably hold this negotiation at the Triborough Bridge, which is kind of between the two stadiums, and get
Jim,
something done.
You'll have to look it up sometime. Steve Cohen has a $12.5 million shark embalmment in his home foyer. I don't think this man is going to get outbid on we talked about it when Bryce Harper was hitting the market. A 26-year-old this good in their prime doesn't happen very often. So I'm with you. He's not leaving New York. But Jim, you mentioned it. Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson's end of the year presser. What was your big kind of takeaway from it? Because I think when Renee and I were discussing it, one of the things that jumped out to us was the use of the term buy-in. Do you think that means some fundamental approach changes from some of the higher paid guys? Because I don't think you use the word buy-in with your younger core. I think that's more of a veteran term. What were your main takeaways from Dave and Rob's press conference at the end of the year?
Well, you're talking about when Rob kind of said, on our approach, we need to use the whole field more.
Yes.
And they need guys to buy it.
I think he was talking to Trey, but, who knows?
Yeah, Trey. And I do think, I think their offense, some of their issues could be solved if Trey were to improve and become more selective. And also Stott, if he had a better year and started grinding at bats the way he did maybe the previous year in 2023 and 2022, I think some of your improvement could happen right there. But yeah, that was the buy-in was kind of use the whole field. The thinking being, if you're using the whole field, you're staying on the ball longer because you're going to try to use the other side of the field. And if you're staying on the ball longer, you're seeing it longer, and you're able to make that split second reaction, whether it's a pitch you can handle or a pitch you can't handle, whether it's a strike or a ball. And it's kind of the definition of selectivity. Which we see in these two teams in the World Series, both very selective.
Number 1 and number 2 in lowest chase rate, Jim. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And they'll grind up pitchers and have great at bats, and they'll make you come over the plate. And if you come over the plate, they've got hitters that hurt you. It's kind of that's kind of the equation. So, and I guess my big takeaway from that news conference was both Dombrowski and Thompson, said they have a good roster, capable of winning. And I agree with that.
Sure.
And I know a lot of people don't like it when you say this, but you do need to play well at the right time. And they have guys that are very, very capable of playing well. That said, I do think they need change, and some change around the edges, maybe a more significant piece. And Dombrowski didn't really reveal a lot in his plans. He never does. It's also very early in the offseason. But this guy didn't get to where he is by not making some pretty good reads on teams. And I think he knows that they need to make some changes. And I expect them to make some changes. I don't know where, but I think it could be an active winter. Could they make a significant trade? Sure, if the right thing pops and presents itself. Otherwise, I see them adding maybe around the edges, but I do think they need an upgrade in left field and center field. And in some way, shape, or form, I think they're going to at least attempt to do that. And then, we'll make a judgment May, June, July, August next year, whether it is indeed an upgrade. It takes time to judge any move. Witness the trade deadline. We all thought Austin Hayes would be a pretty good pickup. He got hurt. He got sick. He didn't produce. We all thought Estevez would be a big difference maker, and I thought he had some good moments. But it takes time to judge any move. So maybe they didn't get the impact at the trade deadline. Certainly, they didn't get the impact at the trade deadline that they would like to have. But I think they're going to be active this winter. I think they know they need to. It's about playing well at the right time, but it's also about arming that team with the pieces that makes it capable of playing well at the right time, being a little more consistent. So some improvement, I think, from Stott and Turner, and maybe an addition in the outfield or two, maybe could be very, very helpful to this team. And the roster is so inflexible with long-term deals and high money that you're not going to be able to move. I think their ears would be open on Alec Bohm. I think their ears would be open on Stott. I don't necessarily expect either to be traded. And I certainly hope they don't make a hasty decision on Bohm, given his late season struggles and the frustration he showed, because I think there's a lot there. I think he's a very good player. But the reason I say your ears have to be open, and I think they will be, is if you can get value and something that you think makes your team better, then it might be something you have to consider. But in both cases, you better get something good back because they're both young and talented.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's definitely some young talent that Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson were speaking about, looking at the prospects, players like Aiden Miller, Justin Crawford, of course, even Andrew Painter, who we were highlighting earlier on in the show for a tremendous fall league production that he had, his first scoreless outing since September 9th of 2022. And his 32 pitches showed some more in his arsenal, looking really good. Some of his pitches, the velocities there, touching 99.2 miles per hour on some of his pitches. Andrew Painter, as that number 5 starter question has been also an area that the Phillies have touched on, of, looking to give Taijuan Walker a fighting chance for spring training. Spencer Turnbull, of course, had injuries. Andrew Painter's working back. So the number 5 starter is something that also has been a question mark. What are your thoughts on Andrew Painter's return back and the way he's already been pitching so far in Arizona with the Desert Dogs?
Well, I think it's great to see him back on the mound. That's where he wants to be. It's where you need to see him. I think it's great to see him approaching triple digits with his fastball. That tells you the surgery is holding up well, because that's a lot of power coming off that arm.
Yeah.
You mentioned the number 5 starter. Ostensibly, they got 4 pretty good ones coming into the season. I think they need more from Ranger, or more consistency, obviously. And number 5 spot is something they need to address, I think, with multiples. You need to get a 5, a 6, a 7, because we all know that it takes a number of guys. It takes 6, 7, 8, 9 deep to get through a Major League Baseball season, and the teams that have that pitching depth are really dangerous. Could Painter doesn't profile as a number 5 starter; profiles as a number 1 guy in the rotation. Eventually, could he be part of their 5-man next year? Absolutely, and I think he will be at some point, but I don't think it'll be early. I hope it's not early. I hope they, take some time. He's going to need to build a workload. You're going to need to be careful with him as he ramps up, coming back from injury, and build strength. I think sometimes you can, and I don't think baseball teams are fooled by this. You see that velocity in the Arizona Fall League, and you don't just say, "Wow, he's back." No, it takes time. So I would see him maybe likely making a contribution in the second half of the season. I don't know what their plan is. I know they have organization meetings this week. I'm sure they're talking about it. But I would go easy with him out of the gate, maybe leave him in Florida, pitch maybe once a week, and then start him up the minor league ladder as it maybe warms up here, and watch him very closely, monitor his work, slowly build. And if he looks ready, as we all think he will, maybe he can help in the second half. I don't know what his inning limit will be for the season, probably around 100, I guess. But I just hope when he comes, obviously he's ready, and he will be ready. They wouldn't bring him before he's ready. But I hope he doesn't come up here feeling like he has to be the savior, and I hope people don't put that type of pressure on him. Having 4 veteran guys in the rotation like they do, this might be a real good place for him to break in the second half, with those guys shouldering the load and him helping out at the second half of the rotation in the second half of the season. And I think, monitor him as he goes along and see what you got. And then I would even be careful with him in 2026, because, he's still going to be building a workload after surgery, and you're trying to get the most out of him now while, respecting what he's gone through with the injury and respecting what he means to your future. So they'll come up with a plan, I think, that works for everybody. I think he's going to be that pillar, probably not till 2027. He'll be the pillar of the rotation you're all looking for, as Zach Wheeler gets kind of into his final year. Aaron Nola moves forward a little bit in his contract. So you're trying to build something special here, and I think it's still going to take a little time, even though he's throwing 99 in the Arizona Fall League. And thank God they have the Arizona Fall League, because he's healthy enough to pitch in some competitive action, and that's a great league for pitchers who have had injuries and need to build some workload and haven't been able to build it during the season, because it's a great place to send recovering, rehabbing pitchers, whatever you want to call them, where if you had a good prospect in the minor leagues, and he's giving you a good solid 5 or 6 months in the minors, and reached his innings total, you're not going to send him to Arizona to pitch more. He's going to get his recovery time. But it's a great place for those rehabbing pitchers. So I don't blame everybody to be excited about what they're seeing in Arizona. It's a great thing, but to me, this is still a process. It's still going to take some time.
Yeah, Jim, what you said about we had Travis Hergert on last year, who's the minor league coordinator down in Clearwater. And what you said about the weather was interesting. And I had never thought about it before, but he had mentioned it about guys coming up and staying warm down in Florida before coming up north. And it's funny, I just had never really put two and two together like that before. And when Travis said it, it was like, duh, that makes a lot of sense. So that's an interesting point.
There's two schools of thought there. Keep them in the warm where it's sometimes easier to stay loose, but at some point they're going to have to pitch up here, hopefully in the cold weather of October, right?
Yeah. So I know
at some point you want to get them introduced to that, but maybe not, 18 months post-surgery. I think you have to maybe use that all to your benefit.
So Jim, the World Series starts tonight, and I don't know. There's something about the World Series that always makes me feel like a little kid again. Like I feel like I get the program in front of me. I picture my parents' old TV that was like a bookcase, and I would sit in front of it, and it was just like the coolest thing in the world. And it's the 12th World Series meeting of the Dodgers and Yankees. They're first since 1981. There's going to be an Apple documentary about it. It's really? Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. Like, it's just, I know the Phillies are out of it, but damn, this World Series is cool. What do you think? Who's going to get crowned? What's Jimmy Steak's predictions here for the World Series?
Well, I have the same feelings you do, Jamie, about the World Series, just before I answer you. And you mentioned it's like the 100th or the 12th time they met, the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. I think we can safely say they're the two most storied franchises in baseball.
Absolutely.
And, definitely. This is their 12th one, and this is the 120th World Series. That's exactly 10% that these two teams have gobbled up.
That's wild. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So,
jeez.
And you got the two big payrolls and the two biggest markets in the country, and Broadway and Rodeo Drive and Shohei and Judge and two, Dodger Stadium is so historic. I know Yankee Stadium's been replaced, but it's still Yankee Stadium. I don't know how. I'm a little bit torn. I'll cut to the chase. I think the Yankees would be my pick to win it in a long series. 6 or 7, because I still like their pitching, top to bottom, more than the Dodgers, who've done a great job piecing it together. Talking about starting pitching being so important. They've had so many breakdowns, and they've pieced it together. They've gotten great work in the postseason from their bullpen. You just wonder, is that a tightrope? And you put too much pressure on them. I think the Yankees have a good bullpen too, and they're going to put less pressure on it because they actually have a rotation that can go through an order a couple times or even 3 times. And I think game 1 will be really important tonight with Cole, and Flaherty Flaherty did a great job. I like Flaherty a lot. I think he's a guy coming back from getting his legs now and starting to become himself after surgery. The best could be yet to come from him next year and next couple of years. But he's kind of struggled a little bit in this postseason. 2 terrific lineups that will grind, that will not chase. Obviously Judge and Soto in the middle of that lineup. Stanton came alive. Volpe played well. Rizzo has had a good postseason. And on the other side, boy, the depth in that Dodgers lineup, Freeman and Ohtani and Betts, Muncy, Teoscar Hernandez, and Tommy Edman had a great series. I think this will be a really good World Series. And, I don't know who's going to win, but nobody knows. That's the beauty of it. But I would probably pick the Yankees based on their starting pitching and based on the fact that, the Dodgers are probably going to keep running that bullpen out there a lot. And at some point, I feel like they're on a tightrope, and at some point they're going to meet Aaron Judge, and something big could happen, because it seems like he's got a lot more in the tank to show this postseason. And you got 2 guys who hit 54 each, or 55 each, or 56, something like that. Home runs, crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting baseball. Of course, we would have loved for the Phillies to be in the World Series, but if you have to pick 2 storied franchises to be going head to head, as you mentioned, the money that they spent, the star power, the 2 biggest markets. The 2 most historic franchises.
Did you see real quick, Renee, the LA traffic tonight? So there's a college game at USC. There's like a state championship high school football game at SoFi. There's the World Series game 1. And there's the Clippers are having another home opener, and I think the Lakers might be playing too. So traffic in LA tonight is going to be like hell on earth.
Wow. It always is, though.
Yeah,
it always is. Now it's just going to be even worse.
Even worse.
But you come up that main road, I think it's the 110. I always get, and you got where you got the Coliseum, then you got the Staples Center, then you got Dodger Stadium. They're all boom, boom, boom. I can see that really piling up.
Oh yeah. Ooh, it's going to be crazy. Exciting times for baseball. Definitely will be one that should go 6 or 7 games. Let's hope. Let's have a nice long series, lots of drama back and forth. Two teams that are very deep in terms of their offense, but also have been piecing together some great pitching for the Dodgers, and also, of course, the Yankees still having Garrett Cole and their tremendous pitching staff. So should be a fun one, Jim. Thank you so much for jumping in to weigh in on your predictions. Juan Soto, Andrew Painter, all that's going on around the Phillies and baseball right now. And as always, we love the work that you do.
All righty. Well, keep it to Dodger Blue now. It's the World Series. All right.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That we will try. Thank you, Jim. Have a great weekend.
You too, guys. Thanks.
All right. Well, as Jim mentioned,
we do have.
That's hilarious, by the way. That's actually hilarious. That we
I was dying in the backstage.
I was when you led off with that first line. I was like, "Holy crap! Here we go." But here we go for an exciting Garrett Cole matchup against Jack Flaherty, as that's the starting pitchers for today. Both teams have outlined their pitching for the series for the most part. We have been seeing some bullpen games from the Dodgers, as Jim was mentioning. That could be a difference maker. Two teams that have been getting a lot of production throughout the lineup. So let's get into our Ace Hardware Home Services temp check to wrap up the show here, to give our predictions, because it is time for the World Series, guys. Now, when the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees first faced off in the World Series back in 1941, for the sake of time, I won't have you guess, but back in 1941, ticket prices were as cheap as $1.10 when the Dodgers and Yankees faced off for the first time in the World Series. Fast forward to 2024, 83 years later, and the cheapest ticket is now $1,000.89. Prices have definitely gone up, but one thing that has remained the same, the two highest value teams with a $7.55 billion Yankees roster and a $5.45 billion Dodgers roster. You've got the star power. You've got the history. You've got all the chaos, all the drama, and two teams that right now are playing the best, which is why they're in the World Series. The depth is there. So what are your predictions? Jamie, I'll start with you. What's your prediction for this series with game one tonight, 8:08 start on the West Coast?
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to set the projection screen up outside with a little fire pit. I'm going to go – I'm with Jim. I think the Yankees get it done. They're very evenly matched. You know, tonight I think it's 23 of the last 29 have won game one, won the series, and I think the Yankees have a clear pitching advantage tonight. You know, Mr. Buehler has been getting hit around this postseason, and I don't know, the magic just seems to be a little bit with the Yankees. So I'm going to take them to win the series. I think it goes 6 or 7. I think it's going to go deep, but I got the Yanks.
Jamie, is it a bourbon night too around the fire?
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Dude.
Miller Lite and bourbon. Yeah. Usually I have probably 3 to 4 Miller Lights and then 2 to 3 bourbons by the fire.
I finished with the beer. I know people like the night after the bourbon. I'm the opposite. I like to start with the bourbon, go with the beer. Spiral actually took my answer. He must have listened to Philly with John Marks this morning, because I also said Dodgers in 7. Give me Dodgers in 7.
All right. Well, I'll keep it quick. When you look at the 12 straight consecutive playoff appearances for the Dodgers, and their lone World Series title was in 2020 that people want to put an asterisk on, they're looking to change that this World Series. I don't think this is the year. I would love for the Yankees to win in 7. Because I think give us all the baseball, give us all the drama. Let's get as many games as we can. And I do think their pitching staff is going to be the difference. Aaron Judge will show up this series consistently, which also will definitely help the Yankees, who have been having tremendous performances from Giancarlo Stanton alone to carry the team. So should be a fun one, guys. World Series gets started 8:08 tonight.
Do you guys get that special feeling like me and Jim do?
Yeah.
Does it does it give you the tinglies?
Oh yeah.
The baseball tinglies?
I'm excited for the matchup, but not the same way, because I didn't really grow up like a big baseball fan. Baseball came in my life later on in life, but it is a good matchup. I mean, it's Dodgers, it's Yankees. If you're a baseball purist, you like this tonight.
Well, thank you to our diehards. We appreciate you. And it is really weird to say I want the Yankees to win, but also, guys, I just want to put this perspective out there. As we all know, the amount of injuries that the Dodgers have. You don't have Shohei Ohtani pitching. They did make that clear. They did put out a statement. He will not pitch in the World Series because there was some speculation and hope. He will not be pitching in the World Series. You also obviously have guys like Clayton Kershaw, Tyler Glasnow. Yamamoto missed the majority of the season. He is back. They've had so many injuries to their pitching staff. The Dodgers cannot win this World Series because people will get so irrational about them running it back next season with Shohei Ohtani pitching. And I would actually understand why. So let's hope the Yankees win this one for our sake, because I think it'll be a better pill, easier pill to swallow if it's the Yankees with Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo, Big G Stanton winning instead of the Dodgers. So we'll be back live. Big G is what they call him.
Sounds like he found some blue chews. Big G!
Or he's just a big moment guy.
Big G!
Time player. Come baseball. And Freddie.
I'm sorry, it's Friday. I'm in a very happy sophomoric mood.
Yeah, you're a child. But I'm gonna go now, so we don't have any more Blue Chew references from Jamie. We'll see you guys back on Monday, 11 a.m. for more. We'll be talking about the World Series and hopefully some more Juan Soto talk. We're gonna give you some daily Juan Soto updates on what can happen for the Phillies. Anything is possible until the ink is on that paper and the deal is official. Juan Soto is still up for grabs, and the Phillies can still be in the market for picking up Juan Soto. So for JP, Jamie, our guest, Jim, wow, all the J's today, except for me. 3 J's and an R. For JP, Jamie, Jim, and myself today, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a tremendous weekend. Enjoy your final weekend of October, guys. Is this your Halloween weekend?
No, I love Halloween night as a parent. So Thursday night, we're going to go all out.
Jealous.
Yeah, it's great.
I think I'm going to do a whole Halloween.
Oh, a Halloween.
Starting today all the way through next weekend. Why not? YOLO.
Why not?
I'll have some friends over for game 2 tomorrow night. And the bourbon will be out there for that too, Jamie.
Oh, we got to get the bourbon out, guys. It's a bourbon weekend. I see a lot of Dodgers predictions, a lot of Game 7 predictions. We'll see what happens. It all gets started 8:08 tonight. That'll do it for us here on PHLY Phillies, presented by Ace Hardware Home Services. And now we are officially done. Have a great weekend. See you guys Monday, 11 a.m. for more.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.